everyone. I'm so glad. Looks like we have a great turnout. My name is Sandra Libby. I am the playground planner with the DCR, and I'm going to be narrating a lot of this project and this, and also this presentation. This is the Lawrence Riverfront State Park Playground Improvements Project, and I'm really excited. We're moving forward with this project, so we'll be giving you a whole rundown. And so, of course, this is a DCR Mass State Park piece of property owned by all of us, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, which is us. And but when we start a presentation like this, we like to acknowledge, of course, that our Governor, Charlie Baker, Lieutenant Governor Catherine Polito, the Director of Energy and Environmental Secretary is Matt Beaton, and the Department of Conservation and Recreation Commissioner is Leo Roy, who is above, I fall under that category, so, and our planning for our parks and playgrounds and everything falls under that category. So, our mission statement with the DCR is an important piece of what the DCR and Mass State Parks is. So, to protect, promote, and enhance our commonwealth of natural, cultural, and recreational resources for the well-being of all. So, the purpose of this meeting is to provide an update on the DCR Playground Initiative, to present the plans for improvements at the Lawrence Riverfront State Park Playground, and to provide an opportunity for discussion and question and answer. So just to tell you a little bit about the update on the DCR Playground Initiative. When I came on in May, I had actually worked for the DCR at Walden Pond and Harold Parker, so I hope you guys have all visited a lot of our great parks. We have wonderful parks in Massachusetts. And you can go on the DCR website, of course, and see them all. And when I came on board, we had Dan Driscoll, who's my supervisor and the head of planning. I work under planning and engineering in Boston. And he had initiated, when my predecessor left 2 years ago, an inventory of all of our playgrounds. We have over 70 playgrounds with the DCR across the state. And so we have that all on our ArcGIS system, so we have now an inventory. When I came on board, we were just wrapping that up, and I was able to really help in getting it finalized. We have a full report on what we have at every single playground, as far as all the different types of equipment and the condition of all the equipment. So that's wonderful. So that whole process, when I came on board, helped us to develop our playground program. And when I like to call it a program, not a plan, even though we're in planning, because it is an actual active program to get all of our playgrounds in Massachusetts in top shape. And that's very important. I'm a certified playground safety inspector. I've been working on playgrounds since 2000, and playgrounds are just kind of my thing. I love it, and I'm really excited to be doing this with the state. So if we could go to the next slide. I'm right now going to turn it over to Tamara Zimmerman. She works for CSS, and we hired her to work on this project because we really need a great landscape architect, and we're really glad to have you. So,
thank you, Sandy. Hi, I'm Tamara Zimmerman. I'm a landscape architect, and I've been working for, I don't know, about almost 30 years designing parks and playgrounds, and we've done many, many playgrounds, at least over 50. What you see on the screen are just a few examples of some of the work we've done. We're very excited about this project. And here is an aerial of your playground. And what's interesting is that the DCR here has a historic aerial which shows the trees much smaller, most of the trees much smaller, except for the old growth ones. There's a line of large trees in there that have been here a very long time, and they are a wonderful asset for your park. So this is where we're starting. I'm going to talk a little bit about existing conditions. The playground has been in there for a while. The play structures they're damaged, they're worn. The sand surfacing does not meet current guidelines. It's not compliant with current guidelines, so it needs to be replaced. And we'll go through a few more of some of these conditions. You'll notice that the concrete edges are dislodged. They're coming up. They're not in place where they were originally placed along there. The pavement, there's asphalt in there. There are some huge cracks through it. It's warping. It's pulling away from the edges. There are some tripping hazards as you go through there. So this is just the result of age. Now, we, of course, have winter views of the trees, but you do have these magnificent trees, and they really are a great asset to your park. They're beautiful, but they also have roots, and the roots they do some work underneath the pavement where you see pavement heaving. There's one very large sugar maple right behind the fence, and it's lifting the pavement up. You can see a crack right next to the tree, so it's doing some heaving underneath there. And then there are 2 linden trees in the park. They're right inside the playground, and those are really, you can trace the roots under the pavement by the pavement coming up. You see these amazing roots. So we are going to look at those trees and deal with that issue, that you can't get an accessible path along those trees if you have roots doing this to your pavement. Okay. The steel benches out there are really sturdy. They're in good condition. They have some graffiti. They have a little bit of rust and wear on them, but we feel they're in good shape. They're very high quality, and we're going to reuse those in the new playground. The chain link fence is in disrepair. Obviously, it's old. The framework is worn. There are some caps missing. There are some areas where even some of the cross rails have been pulled out. The fabric is all warped. But the posts going through there are in good condition. So again, the chain link fence can be rehabilitated. It's a good framework to begin with. The gazebo also is a good structure, but there's graffiti on it. We noticed that some of the graffiti under the roof has been painted over, so there's been some work on it, but we're going to do some scraping and repainting of that. Okay. And we also noticed that there is a desire for people coming from, I guess this is sort of the northeast, for people coming from one side of the park to get in. They don't want to go all the way around to the entrance where the gazebo is. So we noticed that one of the chain link panels had been pulled apart, and people are coming through there and making their own entrance into the park. Also, we need to have accessible parking for this area. If somebody who is either handicapped or elderly wants to use this area, the handicap parking right now is on the other side of the park. It's near the tennis courts, and that's a little too far. So we're looking at making this a more accessible area. So the project scope, to just summarize it, is going to be, we'll be installing new play equipment and new play surfacing. We're going to refurbish the fencing and have a good surround. And as part of refurbishing the fencing, we're going to close off the fencing and add a gate so that if children are playing in there, parents can feel a little bit more secure about their kids not leaving easily. We're going to provide some accessibility improvements throughout the park, and that's, everything that we do will conform to accessibility guidelines, but we're also going to be adding some handicap parking. We're going to upgrade the materials, and we're going to be including some interpretive features, specifically on the play structures. So here's the proposed plan, and as you can see, it is within the existing fence layout. But what we're going to be doing is expanding the area for the play structures. We're taking out a lot of the pavement that's been warped and that's not in good condition, and we're making a larger area. So I'm going to go through the improvements one by one. First, it's going to be new play equipment. This is just an overall view of that play equipment. There will be play structures for different ages. There will be swings. There will be a climbing net. There are going to be various smaller pieces. And Sandy, who is the expert on these, is going to discuss them in more detail a little bit later. Second, we're going to be installing new surfacing, and that's not the swing we're putting in, but that is the surfacing. It's called engineered wood fiber, and you've probably seen it in a lot of playgrounds. It looks a little bit like mulch, but it is an accessible surfacing. You can bring a wheelchair on it, and it works with fall heights. When children fall on it, they won't be injured. So that will be the surfacing that we're using in the new park. Okay, we're going to be refurbishing the chain link fence. As I mentioned, we're going to be taking off the fabric, we're going to take off the cross rails, we're just going to be left with the posts, and those will be refinished. We'll put on new cross rails, new fabric, new caps, and it will look like a new fence. Also, at the gazebo, we're going to add a couple of railings. There now, you can see in that photograph on the left that the gazebo has railings partially around it. We're going to add right along the front one more railing with a gate in it so that the whole play area is enclosed. We're also going to be adding 2 parking spaces right across, sort of across from the monument, where the monument is. You can see those there, with a new curb cut to get you in. And there will be a new accessible path that gets you from that side into the play area. So there'll be that second access that everyone seems to want will be provided. Okay. The ribbon benches, as I mentioned, the steel benches, those are going to be scraped and painted and reinstalled. The gazebo will also be refinished, get rid of the graffiti, and we're going to try and clean up the monument, which the elements have really taken their toll on the concrete and on the bronze. So those will be cleaned. Dealing with tree roots is an interesting problem because you can't just cut the roots of the tree, and we want to save our trees. They're really beautiful. So one thing that you may have noticed in certain cities, if you walk along a sidewalk, sometimes there'll be a panel missing, and there'll be something that'll look like almost rubber surfacing, the sort of thing you see in a playground. And this is it's basically the same material. It's little rubber granules that create a new surface, but it's permeable. And you can put it over tree roots, and you can see, actually the upper right that's a sidewalk, and that is one panel that was heaving around the tree, and they replaced it with this rubber surfacing. And here's another image of that showing how it can fit very closely around the tree roots. So our plan is to use that in the area where the 2 linden trees are, and also next to the large sugar maple, so that you have sort of a continuous pavement, but a different sort of pavement, one that will work with the tree roots, that won't harm them. And we're also going to put some boulders, seating boulders, in around the linden trees. Just a place for kids to kind of run and sit. All right, I am going to turn this now back over to Sandy to talk about the play equipment.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. All right, so with the play equipment, when we're designing a playground, I feel it's really important to get all types of play for our children. There's so much out there in the playground industry now, and so this is really considered a destination playground. So this playground has the capacity to do a lot. So what we've done is, it's wonderful. With this, we divide play equipment into 2 to 5 and 5 to 12. And I feel it's very important that we separate these 2 age groups. They're very, very different, and they have different capabilities. Not making one structure that's all one and the same. So, and that makes it really compliant with the safety standards. So this play structure is for the 5 to 12-year-olds. And as you can see, we're able to get our decks up really high, up 8 feet. And it's really nice because this has a ramp that comes in, and then they'd wheel right up into the big round structure. And what's really nice about that is we're not spending a ton of money on ramps. As you'll see, some playgrounds just are ramps, 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 ramps. We are providing the ability for someone to come in a walker or a cane or whatever. So it's a wonderful chance for them to come in and participate as much as they can with the playground equipment and be with the other children and people. And so that off of this is a lot of different activities, from slides to climbers to interactive panels, which I'll get into describing more, but really try to incorporate all the different types of play for our kids, upper body strength building and everything. So, and then we have a 2 to 5 structure for the younger children, and again, getting in as much activity as we can with the sliding and climbing and different types of things, corkscrew and everything that we could get. Plus, these have wonderful roofs too. So that is a very hot area, and this will be give the children and parents the ability to go under the equipment and under the roofs. So, kind of 2 layers. Aquarius net, amazing net climber. This is one of the best nets that there are around. Every playground manufacturer seems to be making these, and they've become a huge hit. This allows for climbing, but this allows also for a different type of climbing than what we had before we had these nets introduced to the playground industry, because the nets move. And so as you're climbing, you have to use different muscles and all different muscles to get up there. And, you know, I think oftentimes people worry, oh, wow, they're way up there at the top. But if you fall, you just fall to the next net. So it's not like you fall all the way down. But again, on the bottom, we have wonderful safety surfacing that's 12 inches of engineered wood fiber. So we have swings. We're going to have definite swings. We're going to have 2 handicap swings, which actually are great for the younger children that have a hard time too, and I don't know, sometimes some of the older kids sit in them. We have the belt swings, and we'll have some tot swings. We have a 10 spin, which is a very cool multi-use spinner that you can stand on, you can sit on. Really gets the kids interacting and together and doing cooperative play. And then we have the multi-pondo, which is a stand-up seesaw, and an overhead spinner, which is 10 kids can spin on that big overhead spinner too, and it's a lot of fun, or just one, if that's all that's there. For the younger kids, I think it's important to bring in some animals and little imaginative play and give them that quiet opportunity. An alligator balance beam, a frog, which is a very good-sized frog climber, and a bumblebee spring toy, which 1 or 2 kids can go on. It doesn't have to be 2. In the park, we're going to have a sign right over that entrance onto the 5 to 12, that ramp, and you'll be able to see it from the street. And it will say the name of the park and, you know, welcome. And then we will have 2 panels, 2 interactive panels that are incorporated into the equipment, on the older kid equipment. The local species panel is, as you can see, that girl is matching the head, middle, and tail of different animals. And what we're doing is 9 local species animals. And it'll say right on there, and it'll say the name of the animal. Then we're going to do that. We're also going to do a maze panel, which is a 2-sided panel, and it is going to be a maze for the kids to try to find and try to bring themselves to a spot, and it's going to feature the dam that's nearby and let everybody know about that local feature, as well as this wonderful place here, so that people will know about something in Lawrence. It'll be Lawrence specific. And it'll just get them, these are, what I was trying to do was show you an example of how this panel works, because it's a two-color panel, and what they do is say the panel's blue, like that race car is, and then they engrave into the panel whatever we want. And this one was a yellow panel, and the bottom one was a red maze panel that was engraved yellow, so you can see how it comes out. And I think it'll be a nice feature to the park and be really specific to the city. So the next step is for us to get started on the project. And we have the spring right now, basically right as soon as we can, it's going out to bid. And construction's going to start as soon as it can with, with this weather. Let's just keep this nice weather and just get going. And then we anticipate the playground opening in late summer. And just wanted to let you know that the funds for this playground project were, fortunately, didn't have to come out of playground maintenance or anything. It actually is the DCR capital improvements commitment. So $650 was appropriated to playgrounds this year, and $300 is to this project, and $350 to another playground that was a little bit bigger. So we're very excited to be moving forward with this. We have, like I said, with our playground program, which is rehabilitating and moving forward and making all of our playgrounds wonderful. We are going to incorporate a full all-out maintenance plan so that we will not end up in this situation again later on. So that is a very big commitment on my part. I hope to retire from this job someday, so I hope to be here, God willing, to see this through. So that is really our plan moving forward, and I'm setting up the system so that when the day comes that I'm gone, it will continue. So it's very, very important for our playgrounds, for us, to not have to sit around and turn over on these playgrounds and rebuild them, and let them get to this point. So we really want to have a wonderful playground for the kids to come to. So that's the goal. So at this point, I think the next slide is the questions. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer. I'm glad you all stayed and came.
Would it be too wishful to ask for restrooms at this facility? I know that's another step.
That would be a huge step, and it would be a big financial commitment.
Right. And a maintenance commitment from there on out.
Yes, yeah, it would be a huge step. I don't know, do you do porta potties anywhere near that facility?
There are no public bathrooms nearby except for the boathouse when they're open.
Right. The boating program when the boating program's open. So,
That's not really close.
no. Your question?
I have a question about the surface.
Yes.
The pit rubber surfacing is used near the trees, correct?
Yes.
And typically that's not being used in place of the wood fiber. I know the King Street Park, the rubber surface is what's used throughout. Just in a lot of times, one of the issues with sand has been things like glass and whatnot getting lodged in. I've heard of the same with wood fiber. Just out of curiosity, why we're not using a more plain rubber surface throughout where you couldn't get those same issues, and at least you'd be able to sweep them up after.
Yeah, well, there's a big difference between the engineered wood fiber and the poured in place, starting off just from price. It's about $2 per square foot for the engineered wood fiber, and just for the black, which is way too hot, I wouldn't even put in the black, it's $12 a square foot. So that's just to start off with, plus the site prep and everything. So that would make this project a much more expensive project to put in poured in place. We will be putting mats, which we didn't show, under all the slides and swings, which will greatly help the maintenance for Mike and the staff here. And I truly believe, public park, it's very challenging because anything can happen at any time. We find all kinds of debris at all kinds of playgrounds, whether it's a poured in place playground or whether it's engineered wood fiber. And it's important that we try to get it cleaned up as much as possible. One thing I did with, and this is something you might want to think about with your friends group, is we did this simple program in my community called Take 5, and it was asking everybody that when they went to the park to just pick up 5 pieces of trash, and it helped so much. Because everybody, the kids started thinking about it, and people started thinking about, we need to keep our park nice. This is our park, So maybe we could think about doing something like that, because it is definitely a big issue.
I just wanted to say that would be my same concern. I mean, my kids are 2 and 4, and when we go, I feel a little bit uncomfortable drinks in their mouth, and you can't be like right on top of them all the time. So I was disappointed to hear that that the material was going to be something that would be very hard to tell if there was something sharp or dangerous in it. So that's just my thought. And I've done some of the park cleanups here, and there's a lot of glass and needles, a lot. You have to call somebody if you find a needle and all that kind of stuff, but just the same, like, it's a concern here.
Well, I'll tell you what, some parks don't do this, but I can guarantee you that we will be ensuring that we buy a very high-quality engineered wood fiber. That does make a difference. Now, in the first few months, what you'll see, first few weeks, I should say, is you'll see that it will go in and will be a couple inches higher than what it's supposed to. But then it really, truly compacts. And if you saw some of the playgrounds, I can give you some examples of playgrounds that have a higher quality engineered wood fiber. It will lay down and set and compact better than I'm sure some other playgrounds that don't have a high quality. So we are going for a hardwood, good quality product, because that's an important piece of the playground. So I like the engineered wood fiber for another reason also, is that later on in the project, we can add and move things around, which you guys have so much room there, that if I ended up with, if we ended up with something or ending up being able to change something around, we can add things. And when you do a poured in place product, that's it. That's all you get. You're done. It's never going to change, because you can't afford to change anything. So, any other questions? Yes.
Yes, Sandy. My name's Dave. I'm the city councilor for this area. First of all, I want to say thank you for the presentation. It's appreciated. And highlight the fact that this investment is on top of another state investment. We just had a hearing a few months ago at the Ledley School regarding a Complete Streets program that DOT is doing that is going to improve access to your park and through your park to the boathouse that was being mentioned previously. So hopefully that'll be and that money too needs to be expended before the end of June. So
Great.
These two should come online at the same time. I would just note if for coordination purposes, you may want to touch base with DOT.
Definitely. Thank you.
That's a $300,000 to $400,000 investment.
Right.
And it's going to improve safety crossing Everett Street to that portion of the park. So it's big. I just want to let you know, I put on social media over the weekend that this was happening. I did hear from a few people that use the park, such as Rick does, and they had asked for more. So I don't know that they know what the current state is, and I think it's already on. It's the old playground equipment.
I don't think it was pulled out.
No, it's still there.
It's still there.
It's there.
So then you know what the park looks like. And
Yes.
They had asked for more diversification. I don't know if that was age. The way you have 2 to 5.
Yeah.
12.
I have to tell
There
you,
is more.
there is definitely way more in this. That playground, to me, we had to take out both of the tire swings because they were broken. It is pretty barren. It's really just little decks. And that's where you get into what I first described, a playground that's just become all decks and nothing else really for the kids. So I hope you'll be happy with this.
I would suggest saying the surface right now that the improvements will be well received by the community. I would close by saying thank you, because the south side of the city only has, or my district in particular, which is the southwest portion, only has 2 parks, 2 public parks. And there are quite a few on the north side of the city that are being addressed right now somewhere else. But I was happy to see this, and frankly, the state investment, because it's one of those 2 state properties on the south side of the river. One is in DEP Lab, which is really fun, right? And
It's pretty.
this state park. So thank you, and look forward to a new playground in June or July.
The end of the summer.
I would note that the concerns about the needles and glass, that is a problem for this particular park, not necessarily the play area, but the entire thing. The boat ramp is nearby, and I think
One thing you might find, once you put in a new playground, like I said, this is really going to be a high-quality playground. It's going to be a destination playground. I think you'll find a lot more people will come, and people that are using IV needles don't like to go where there's a whole lot of people. So we have found that, because we do have that issue at a lot of parks, and once you have the brand-new equipment and you have a lot more people going and enjoying it and being there at all times, you shouldn't hopefully get in as much, hopefully.
Is there a plan to reestablish or establish new
Lighting,
lighting
Um,
for the park area? Or is it considered kind of a dawn to dusk park?
it is a dawn to dusk park.
It is on the Dust Park. There's no lighting at the playground right now. DCR invested in some new LED lights for the tennis court and the street hockey court and the basketball court this summer, and one light on the backside of the park, but there's no lighting at the playground itself because the park is generally opened onto dusk.
And
Those are the hours.
interesting you bring up the changes to the street. One thing that is important, I feel, is important to notify motorists that they're coming into a playground. So I'm going to see about street signs,
You
you know, 'cause
should certainly
that is-
plug, absolutely, you should certainly plug into, not necessarily DOT, but also the city planning department, because right now they are, I believe they're working with the designers, and there is some, not high quality, but high visibility signage with lights and flashers that are
Great.
self-actuated. So you
Right.
push it, and so I'm sure to add a package for the playground,
Yep,
signage package would be an easy fix, not an easy fix, easy addition. And again, the locus of all that work is right there down that end of the park where the playground is.
right.
So,
And another piece I didn't mention while I'm thinking of it is every single one of our 70 playgrounds is getting a full welcome sign that you see when you come in. It will have specific rules that are general to every park and important for people's safety, plus the phone number to call if anything is going on. So that's an important piece, I think, to it, letting people know where they can call if there's something wrong. So, and then we can act on it. You have a question. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yes, sir. I
Yes.
have a safety concern actually that Dave kind of just touched upon. Where you guys are adding the entrance, the additional entrance, about, I want to say, about 10 years ago, there was a car that literally drove through that side of the kids' playground. There are people that whip around that corner, so it might just be something, cement pillars, whatever you need to do, I would suggest doing that there. Because that curve is pretty nasty, and people don't really
So you're talking about
yeah,
the curve
right down there,
right here.
there's a curve right there,
Yep.
in the road, and people just, I live on that street.
Mhm.
My family affectionately calls it the Rose Street Speedway.
Oh,
Yeah, so I would definitely take that into consideration with, I don't know, some thing.
I am definitely going to have a conversation with Mass DOT and find out what their plan is,
And
and
then-
see if we can beef it up a little bit.
Right there where the playground is,
Mhm.
it used to be no parking,
Mhm.
that's no longer the case, so a flashing sign, something with a crosswalk so people can see it, but
Somebody got that spray walking across the street before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is, the road itself is.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
they need to be really aware that a brand new playground is going in, so there's going to be more traffic, more people
Mhm.
coming to
Yeah.
this park, definitely. So hopefully we can address it.
the good news is at the Weatherby School hearing that we had in December regarding the signage and the safety aspects, is we're actually speed, I brought up speed because I mentioned that Everett Street, unfortunately for this park, in my time on the city council, on this term, Everett Street is the call I receive most, whether it's by phone, social media, or email. The speed, the
People-
lack of respect.
Yeah, fly down there and then they blew this, at the end of Rose Street, there's a stop sign, they blew straight through to somebody T-boned a taxi or whatever that was.
So because of the investment, and I'll be writing a letter to the planning director about this, because of the investment DOT was already making, they're talking about some bump outs and some slowing measures, to actually change the contour of the road this spring. There's no final answer because it's a money issue and it's a planning issue, but the plans are to actually bulb out the sidewalk at the, where Roe becomes Everett. Because that Roe and Everett is the same street. Roe,
Yeah.
when it takes the turn, it just technically changes names. But they're talking about bulbing out, I'm sure you women know that from working multiple projects, but to bulb it out and force people to slow down.
Or early in the morning, I don't know, so this is totally derailing this conversation, I'm sorry. But early in the morning, you'll hear people drag racing from the boat ramp down the street towards, yeah, they start off there, so that's awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, it's okay. I think it's interesting because this same kind of conversation ended up happening at a meeting we were at in Chelsea yesterday. So I think hopefully it's because we have planned this playground so wonderfully and you love it so much that you want to focus on other park issues. So that's
Well,
why
it's all about, like, my concern is only safety for the kids. Like,
Yep.
I think the park is a great asset to the city.
Yes.
And I was lose it.
Yeah, of course, of course.
One other question I had, I don't know if they have increased the number of trash barrels or anything, but in the past too, a lot of the problem with trash was that the trash barrels got too full all the time. So when you talk about people picking up trash, I mean, to be honest, they were really full and then it would be windy and you see trash everywhere. So I
And
don't think
then
one
the
thing
birds
that
go
had
in the
been
trash
lately.
and they take the trash out, which I've seen. So I don't know if
Yeah.
there's
you can't
anything
put birds,
we
but-
can address there.
I just wondered if
They
they
do.
looked at whether there's enough trash barrels, because at times they were so full. Because when it is nice out, it's a very popular park, and people go to the boat launch, they bring a lot of food and a lot of stuff, and then they throw it in the trash and it gets blown around. But on the positive side, my 4-year-old asked him what he wanted in the park. He asked for Spider-Man webs, which it appears that you
Yeah,
have
giant.
completed. A big slide with stairs that you could use to get to it. Swings and
Yep.
in sports stuff, but there's a lot of sports stuff in the park already, so I think he'll be okay with that because once in a while we can get in there, you know.
Yeah,
Okay, so
excellent.
thank you.
Good, checked off his list.
Yeah, to follow up on that, like I've seen some of the parks and more in the north side, but trash barrels or like making sure there's recycling barrels. I know sometimes that they cost money, but making sure that they're there and they're accessible because it has to do with maintenance. That's less maintenance for you if we're making sure that people have them readily accessible to them. And you know, if they're, you know, you don't have to walk half a mile across the park. That we have sufficient in the park so that we don't see what we see, which is, you know, people just throwing trash on the floor.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, you bring up an interesting point though about recycling, and sometimes the challenge of recycling is that people throw trash in there, and it becomes really difficult. It seems like we have certain parks that we can effectively recycle at, because here we are, Department of Conservation and Recreation, of course we want to recycle. We want to recycle everywhere. And then we have other parks that it just doesn't work at all. People just use it as a trash can.
But I think it
So-
depends on, like in Boston, like you have these trash barrels that it's like trash, plastic, and it just makes you think before you're throwing away that trash, where does it belong? So I don't know. I know they're expensive because I've
Yeah.
looked into it, but
Those are
it would be very helpful.
But as a person that's emptied those a lot,
It's all
believe
mixed.
me, you get dirty diapers in them, unbelievable. So
Okay.
there's just certain parks that it seems to work, and there's other parks it doesn't work at all. So, you know, we keep trying. We're hopefully, as people get more and more used to this whole recycling thing that wasn't around when I was a kid at all, so people will do it more. Interesting, what was I at? I was at a UMass Lowell hockey game the other night, and they actually had a whole thing on the Jumbotron, which I think the Bruins should do too, is about exactly how to recycle and what you should be recycling in their recycling bins, and please do it. And I was like, that is a great opportunity to get people to focus and listen to recycling. And you know, 'cause people still don't. There's a lot of people that don't know what to do that would maybe hopefully do it.
But there will be trash barrels at this park.
Well, what do you have now?
We do have trash barrels there now. They're the big 55-gallon drum ones. We put the lids on them to try to help with that, so things don't blow all over the place.
Yeah.
A lot of the times, in the summertime, we have a staff of like 5 laborers. In the wintertime, there's only 3 or 4 of us here year-round for the whole city. So a lot of it is just getting around to doing that routine maintenance.
Yep.
That's what it comes down to a lot of the times.
Good stuff. All right, any other questions, anybody? All right. I'm very excited to do this project. I can't wait. I will be watching over this every bit of the way, just so you know. I'm very good at watching contractors and checking in on them and making sure that it goes in right. So I'm really excited about this project and can't wait to be ribbon cutting with you guys and getting to go down the slide. So, thank you.